on October 7th, 2016, what was originally my favorite FNAF game, Five Nights at Freddy's 6th Location, was released. And it is when I started fully getting interested in the FNAF universe. It introduced my favorite character, Funtime Freddy. It started showing basically the entire we started getting like the inner stories of Afton and the animatronics and how they work and stuff. And we also started to see more of Afton's family started being exposed and stuff, which then continue on in FNAF 6, where they all burned in the Freddy Fazbear's pizza place. But then later, Ultimate Custom Night coming in and wrapping it all up by giving them all to come into combined. But after that, Scott Cawthon wanted to make a VR game after the Afton era ended. So he asked Steel Wool to make it, which released Five Nights at Freddy's Help Wanted, what most of the people and me considered to be one of the best FNAF games, because it brought back many nostalgic stuff from FNAF 1, 2, 3, and 4 specifically, but with some sister location added to it. Also introduced to what would be one of the best FNAF villains, Glitchtrap, or, as we now know him as, revealed to be, the Mimic. A virus, a thing that mimics things and got corrupted somehow. Well, theorized it's the story from the actual Mimic story on Tales from the Pizza Place, but for now we don't really know. But basically, he came in, saw the information about Afton, and decided to replicate it into Glitchtrap, which then later possessed Vanny, or Vanessa. She would turn into Vanny, which would lead to Security Breach, the most controversial FNAF game. Even some, like me, enjoyed it a lot. Other people did not that much. But Ruin came in, and everyone all agrees that it's great. Well, I say that. There's some people who think it just made it even worse, but... Anyways... Throughout those times, there was something that was always in the back of my mind. Just stuck there. And it's been making me really think about it. What would a Five Nights at Freddy's 10 would be? Because 10 is usually something ultimate, if you don't know. You know, 10. It's usually a special number for most of us. So, my mind has always wondered, what would a FNAF 10 would be? And just to let you know, we are close to the FNAF 10th year anniversary. So I knew this was had to come soon. Now, to my surprise, after I don't know exactly what I did that day. I either went to the park or maybe went to somewhere special. I would literally be shocked by how I went to YouTube and I saw something that said Five Nights at Freddy's Help Wanted 2. And lo and behold, I first thought it was actually a tease. I didn't think this was real. I didn't believe it, but when I saw it, I saw that it was officially Steel Wool's channel, and I saw the logo, I realized this is Five Nights at Freddy's 10. A sequel of what was one of the best FNAF games was getting a sequel. And from the looks of it, it was going to be based off a sister location in FNAF 6, which were the games I mainly enjoyed and was somewhat there for. I know people will argue that FNAF 1 to 4 are more nostalgic, but to me, I'm more nostalgic with these. FNAF 5 and 6 and 7. Because that's when I got interested in the franchise. Well, super interested. I had a half interest when FNAF 1, 2, 3, and 4 came out, but 5 and 6 really got me in. So, of course, when the game came out, I got it, and the question I always wanted was that I knew that this needed to be good because it's FNAF 10, and lo and behold, it is fantastic. It definitely is. It is. I can officially say that Five Nights at Freddy's 10 is the best FNAF game. And a lot of people will agree with me with that. Well, I don't think everyone will, but those who do agree with me, we know that this is the best FNAF game. And it perfectly... It held up to my expectations of what a Five Nights at Freddy's 10 should have been. Remember, what am I talking about? Because you might have never seen this game. Allow me to tell you what is Five Nights at Freddy's 10, FNAF Help Wanted 2. Help Wanted 2, as you're going to tell, is the sequel to the VR game that released all the way back in 2019. Or as I like to call 2019, the best year. Well, I don't know if it's the best year. I have some argument to myself that either 2019 or 2021 is the best year. What do you guys think? You know, I'll put in a poll for you guys to think which one is better, 2019 or 2021. But in 2019, we got introduced to Help Wanted. This game was definitely something. Not only did it brought us back to nostalgic stuff like FNAF 1, 2, 3, and 4, and parts of Sister Location, it also introduced new stuff, like the plush babies. It was just the Dreadbear, Grim Foxy, and Glitch Trap. As you know, if you watch my Gmod series, he was the main villain for the first 4 seasons of it. And back then, we all thought he was just a virus created by corruption. Now that we know that it's the Mimic. But in this game, there were 40 levels. 26 ordinary levels. And 14 hard mode, or I think nightmare mode is that it was called. I think that's what it was officially called, nightmare mode, but it could be something else. But 14 hard mode levels. All split into 7 sections. FNAF 1, FNAF 2, FNAF 3, Dark Rooms, Parts and Service, Vet Repair, and Night Terrors, or aka FNAF 4. And after beating all of them, the 39 of them, you unlock a special one of Night Terrors called Pizza Party, which is one of the scariest areas in FNAF because you're basically going to some... I don't know how to exactly describe it. You're in some weird amalgamation of all of the previous locations, FNAF 1 through 5 specifically, and all just merged and glitched and corrupted into this path for you to go to, where you end off in a backstage area. And Glitch Trap is basically, you see Glitch Trap and he's basically telling you to come, and you then become Freddy Fazbear. So that was the rundown of the first Help Wanted game. 4 years later, we now got the sequel, Help Wanted 2. And let's start now, finally get you started into this. So in the beginning, just like the first game, you start off seeing 3 animatronics in front of you and 1 behind you. In the first game, it was the classic 4 animatronics. Freddy, Bonnie, Chica in the front, and Foxy all in the back, the far back. This time, it's a little different. First of all, when you first got in, you first see Funtime Freddy, the main character of this, Roxanne Wolf in the left, Funtime Chica in the right, and they're basically just minding their own business. But then they disappear out of nowhere, and you see a shadow of Circus Baby, who's actually behind you if you turn around. And then the 3 others become closer to you, and then the logo starts. Once you first unit game, you get greeted by Hand Unit. Basically, Hand Unit's talking about how you're part of this new orientation program for new employees. After Hand Unit talks to you about the stuff, you end up in a familiar place. You're basically in the FNAF 6 location. And you can move around and see a couple of the attractions like Mystic Hippo, or the kitchen, or the prize machine. Each area actually has a fast coin, with the main stage basically being some type of gallery. At first, it's not, and you also see some other area with 6. I don't know exactly what they're all called, but they're basically those things where you can place something in. Stands, I think that's what they're called. But when you start out again, you see this little computer thing with files. There are 6 files all of them containing 39 levels. You got backstage, food prep, staff only, Fazcade, ticket booth, and sister location. We'll start off with the backstage because that's where I first start off with. So in the backstage, you have 3 mini games. You got arts and crafts in the daycare. You got the staff makeover in the salon, and you got glam makeover also in the salon. In arts and crafts daycare, you're basically with the son animatronic. He wants you to do some simple arts and crafts where you have a gun that a dart gun, I think, used to get some supplies. You first get the paint thing that you use. On the left, you have 3 colors: yellow, red, and blue, with water to clean off the paint. In the right of you see a picture. It could either be Freddy, Happy Frog, or the cleaner's store. I'm just say Pat. A Pat. Someone will ask you to color one of these. Whatever one it is, it will have specific colors. So you have to shoot You have to shoot for the item that you will see in the background, and then you gotta start painting. And you have to paint by the numbers. The numbers will tell you each color it is. You can either have red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple. And to get orange, green, and purple is basically how you would get them in actual painting, where you need to mix some of the colors in. After you do that, Sun will want you to make a paper pal. You'll be provided with a rope, and as you can see in the background, you have to shoot for the materials that you'll need. But you have to be careful not to be careful and not shoot the wrong ones, because if you do, you accidentally turn the lights off for a second. And when the lights are off, if they're fully off, Moon will kill you. And you also have a time limit to each of these sections, or else Sun will kill you. After complete the paper pal, you can either look like Freddy, Bonnie, or Chica, I think. He'll then ask you to make another paper pal, but instead, but with an added added assignment. I'll just say assignment to paint the paper pal. And after that, you're basically done with the level. And after most of these levels, you usually get an award. Some of them have specific ones. In arts and crafts, you specifically will, when you beat for the first time, will get the sun animatronic in the gallery. You can go to the gallery and collect each of these characters. And just like the gallery in the original, you're basically able to view the characters. You're not able to spin them around like last time, but it's basically the same thing. The next minigame is a staff makeover, where basically you are tasked to decorate some staff bots. You still have the paintbrush, but instead of mixing colors, you have multiple sections of colors. Each of them has or I don't know how to describe it, but they're basically shapes of some of the characters, either Freddy, Chica, or DJ Music Man. And you also have a computer that shows you what specifically they want you to put on the specific character, or the specific, basically where they want you to put something. Where, for example, if they want you to paint their cheek blue, you have to paint it blue. But not only you have to do that, they'll ask you to decorate them with accessories. And on the left, you have an accessory area where you're gonna have to constantly spin around and look for the right ingredient, the right accessories. It could either be Bellora's hat, some earrings, to some glasses. And you're gonna have to do this, I think, 4 or 3 times, I think. And you should, and you'll be good. With each of them increasing, adding more, and wanting more or something. But be careful, because while you're doing this, there's a chance of Glitchtrap corrupting the system. And I'm not sure this is true, but if you press the dump button while Glitchtrap is there, it will corrupt the thing and basically say you're wrong. After that, it will be the glam makeover. In this one, Instead of multiple staff bots, you're instead specifically decorating Roxanne Wolf. It is basically the same thing as the stat makeover, but it's a lot harder because you're gonna have to look at Roxanne while you're doing the makeup because she wants all the attention and stuff. And after doing those ones, I think in the first one you get the multiple staff bots something, but in that makeover you'll be rewarded with Roxy. After completing those 3, you realize that the other 2 are actually unavailable, and they have some weird glitch I'm seeing though. We'll talk about what this means later. Moving on now to the food prep, because that's what I did next. In the food prep, you have 3 minigames. Well, actually 2 minigames available: L chips and pizza. This one might be familiar for some people. Basically, someone will be asking you for an order, and you have to do specifically about any of the order. It could either be putting in a couple of rice, which you'll see in the front of you in a basket. They'll probably ask you for a drink, which is in the left, on your left, and the right will ask you for a specific meal, and you're gonna have to look for the specific meal. It could either be Roxy's nachos or Freddy's castle, I think it was, and you have to put in specific code for them. Specific on microwave. For example, one could be 525 or 131. And sometimes they'll probably want you to put in some specific I forgot what it's called, but I don't know. I don't know what you call it, but extra meals in it, like tomato sauce or garlic. No, not guacamole sauce and not cheese sauce or things like that. And I think there's like up to 3 types of waves of these. There's a morning rush, afternoon rush, and evening rush, and I think could also be a noon rush. It's basically Cooking Fever if you ever played that game. And Cooking Fever is basically the same thing where you wait for someone for a meal and you have to give them the specific meal they want. That's basically what L Chips is. Pizza is also the same thing. Oh wait, but also be careful and do not get the order wrong because they will hate it when you get the wrong. And also don't try to give them something extra. They specifically say no freebies for some reason. And the pizza one, it's basically the same thing, but instead of ordering specific meals, you're only making pizzas and something called pizzaritos, which is basically a pizza and a burrito combined. Something like that. Or pizza in the shape of burrito. I think that's what it's supposed to be. So you basically make a pizza how you would usually bake a pizza. Put it with dough. And you have to do specific ingredients. I think there's like multiple of them. Like either cheese, tomato sauce, something, I think rice sauce. No, it wasn't rice sauce. It was something else. And you have 4 other sections over there in the right, where there's basically, I think cheese as well, some type of cheese. You got, I think, pepper sauce, meat, and not meat. And you also have a salad that could also be its own ingredient with adding toppings to. Oh, it was toppings. That's what I meant to say. And you basically cook the pizza, but be careful not to get it wrong, because you're not giving pizza to the staff bot. You're actually giving them to Chica, because if you notice, you hear Chica asking you either asking about what you're making over there or smelling that something sounds good, and every time after you finish a meal, Chica will literally push the stop bots out of the way and eat the meal. And if you get it wrong, she will instantly kill you. And also in each wave, there's also a time limit. I don't think I mentioned that. There is a time limit. They usually have a fair amount of time with each of them. But you really should make the meals as fast as you can. After that, the third one is corrupted, so we'll get back to that later. Next one that I did was the staff only section. Usually I've seen a lot of people do that first, which I could see that usually looks like a starter one. But I did the backstage one first, but in the third one, we'll call about a staff only. This one being cold storage. This is gonna sound familiar. Somewhat. You're basically in front of Glamrock Freddy. something bad happened to Glamrock Freddy, where his arms have been frozen, and then there's a cake stuck inside of him. Freddy wants you to take it out of him, and you have to be careful because, like in Security Breach, whenever he's in a parts and service type thing, he is not himself. So basically, this is like the parts and service minigames in the first FNAF VR game, but it's also like the parts and service that we did in Security Breach, where we did loads of things to Freddy. So this one's pretty simple. You have some thermometer type freezer heater type thing. You can switch it to either one. You first have to get how to warm up Freddy's arm so that ice will disappear from there. You then have specific tools because just put out as shapes, and you have to open up each one. In the square arm, you have to put. I think you have to take out some old star thing, I think, and you have to put in some new. I don't know how to describe it. It's some weird oval type thing with a star and some weird antenna type thing, and you put it on him. Then you have to go to his left arm and take out an old weird circle thing, spear thing, or cylinder thing, I'm not sure exactly what it is, and put in the new one. And then you have to let that thing load out and activate something. But be careful, it will sometimes overheat, and you have to freeze it. Also, before that, there's actually another ice thing in it, so you have to heat that as well. But you should be careful, because that one specifically might overheat Freddy. After that, this will sound familiar. You then have to take out Freddy's eyes, and then you have to honk Freddy's nose, which thankfully actually now has a sound effect, unlike Security Breach. After you honk his nose, he will jump scare you somewhat and open up his face. He'll then constantly chomp on his he will actually do a chomp, and you have to try and press the button whenever his mouth is open. But you should do it fast because he will overheat while doing this. You can stall time by freezing him, but it's really recommended you just do it as fast as you can before he overheats. After that, you're gonna have to open his chest, and you have to press a button, but then other parts of him will start overheating, so you have to freeze that until it's done overheating, and then you have to simply take out the cake. After that happens, something will malfunction because it realizes that there isn't a cake there. So there's thankfully a cake on your right that has that's basically belonging to Timmy, and you have to put that inside of him, and that's in the minigame. I should also talk about this now because I think this is when you start getting the thing. After being 5 or 6 minigames, I'm not sure. You see this prize box near the gallery, where by now I think if you were doing it the order I was doing it, you would have a head shaft bot in the gallery, along with Glamrock Chica and Glamrock Freddy. You'll see this weird gift thing, and once you open it, you actually unlock a Phase Force thing. If one with Phase Force is this ad thing that's in the game, where basically you get these cool Transformer-like minifigures of Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, and 2 more other characters that we'll talk about later. And you basically collect these things as you complete the mini games. I think the order how you get these is first you get Freddy, then Foxy, then Bonnie, then Chica, and then the 2 more characters that we'll talk about later. So after core storage, you actually unlock 2 mini games: First Aid and Fizzy Fast. I first did First Aid, so we'll talk about that one. This one is a kind of a funny one. You're basically you're basically a doctor, and you have to treat Helpy. And this thing, and there's multiple ways they'll give you randomness of how you need to treat him. You first have to scan him to see what's wrong. It could either be he needs the thermometer. Yeah, that thing. I do not know how to say it today. You either need I think there may be something wrong with his feet. You might need to spray it to disinfect it and then put a bandage. There may be something, I don't know, talking about it, and you need to use the hammer to fix it. But be careful, because you might screw up something, and Helpy will just scream loud, very loud. In order to keep him quiet, you have to use a gas mask to somehow... I don't know exactly what it does, but it somehow makes him chill. I don't know how that works. There's also other times where you need to feed him something, or... Let me think what else is there. There's also where... you also have to put in some weird thing on his neck, and then you have to use the hammer to fix it. You can also use some shock thing on his heart, or somewhere on his knees and arms in order to fix it. We first put it in a strap. You also put in some weird arm things to put on him. There's a lot of stuff. There's also a saw thing that you use to either cut his head or his arm, and you can even need to take out his eye and replace it with a new one, with the leg being replaced with a peg leg. There's a lot of them, but let's talk about this one specifically. This one eases you into this, so there's not really that much chaos. But I think in the third wave of you treating Helpy, some vents will open up, and while Helpy is screaming, or an ad will turn on, because their ads will randomly turn on, you have to close it or turn off the thing. Pig Patch will actually start coming after you, and you have to either calm Helpy down or turn off the ad and then stare at him. Because if you don't stare at him, he will still come after you. So yeah, Pig Patch has returned from Ultimate Custom Night. After defeating the first 8 Pig Patch, you then unlock the second one, where it's basically the same thing, but a little bit harder. And instead of Pig Patch, it's actually Lefty as the antagonist. After that, you realize the third one is actually locked, so we'll talk about that later. Next up, you actually do something known as Fizzy Fast. This one is pretty simple because it's actually based off of nights. So you have a Fizzy Fast night 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 2 of them being in normal mode, but the other 3 are in hard mode. So we'll talk about only night 1 and 2 from now on. Night 1 is pretty simple. You have cameras, and you have a couple of drinks. So this is again kind of like the Cooking Fever mini game, but it's only about the drinks. So like the food preps, you have to look at the order that you need and put the order in. But be warned, these drinks can sometimes run out, and I think you can use the camera and try to get the workers to the staff bots to get the drinkings back in faster. And that's pretty much it. I'm not sure how many orders you need to do. It's kind of... Me and Honest Express learned it could be somewhat be randomized by how many orders you need to do. So, I think in the first one, I think you might need to do 3 or 4. Second one, I think 2 or... 5 or 6. Third night, 7 or 8. Fourth one, 10 to 11. And the fifth one, probably 14 to 15 orders. And trust me, like an actual FNAF game, this gets chaotic. In night 2, there's sometimes where the workers, these type of workers, go on strike. So, in order to prevent them from going on strike, you have to pause them. Because if you don't, they will literally come and kill you. Because there'll be some moments where you see a nightmare staff bot, and you have to shut the whole entire place. And it's basically an emergency lockdown type thing. And that's night 2. Next up is food prep. No, Fazcade. This one has some very fun mini games. We'll first talk about Bonkabon, where it's basically whack-a-mole, where you basically have to whack bonbons, bonnets, and later in the 2 other rounds are in this. There's 3 rounds in these. The plush babies. But you cannot whack Helpy because he'll make you lose points. So each of them gives you a specific amount of points. Bonbon is 1, Bonnet is 3, and Plush Babies is 5, I think. And the Plush Babies are a lot harder because you have to whack them 3 times in order for them to go away. And they will kill you, unlike the other ones. In specific rounds, you have to win for specific points. Round 1, you need 20. Round 2, you need 60, and round 3, you need 120. And that's pretty much it of the minigame. The next one that I did was Phasma Blast, but we're going to do that later. We're going to talk about the DJ Music Man one. So in this one, you basically are... It's basically Melody and Memory. No, it's actually not like Melody and Memory. It's actually completely different. Where DJ Music Man will come in very scarily because he is very big, and he'll ask you to copy a song or something like that. You have specific patch. You have 4 things that represent an island or a background: green, pink, yellow, and blue. Then you have 3 like things. I don't know exactly what it is, but it basically those things that you can go something that has a little line that you can pull back and forth. One, I think, gives you a head of someone, either Chica, Roxy. I don't think Roxy. The Freddy, Pizza, or Staffbot. Another one that shows, I think, the city background. That might have been the other thing that basically is like the volume things where they go turn clockwise or counterclockwise. But one of them that shows a background in the environment, like not like the ground, but a background type thing. I'm not sure how to describe it. You have either some weird portal warpy type thing. You have mountains. You have a city, and you have a Mario type background. And the last one is basically some weird I don't know, added thing in the background, probably like some environment thing. It's gonna be a moon, a lightning bolt, and I think a square. I'm not sure. And I think planets. And you have to pretty much get them in the right order they are. And I think you need to do this 3 times the first one, and then after that you pretty much win. You get DJ Music Man swagging out, basically, with a much more slowed down version of the theme that he actually had in the original. It's not the same one, it's a little bit slowed down. Then you have a more advanced version of this, where it's the same thing, but you have 5 rounds, and there's little music men that are coming after you. In order to stop them, you have to use the fast cam. And also, here's a tip. You can actually, if you didn't get the entire thing, the entire music note thing, you can actually replay it. So then you can make sure, either you make sure you got it all correct, or or you can figure out what you need to actually put in. Next one is Bonnie Bowl. This is a very fun one. Or I think, well, I wouldn't say fun. I struggle with this one. But it's a more chill type mini game. It's not like very intense. It's basically where you're basically bowling. It's basically a game of bowling. Where you basically bowl to get some points. It's basically like bowling in real life, though there are some added things. For example, for some reason, the head of where the pins are, which is actually Glamour Bonnie, it actually starts chomping down sometimes. And could also be the Monty, you know those Monty chomper things in the golf course? Those also sometimes appear. Plus, little plush babies will sometimes appear, and you have to use the bowling balls to knock them down. And moon will sometimes appear, where you use your trusty flashlight to shine them out of there. I think you need to do 10 rounds of these, and you pretty much win. I don't know if you die in this, because I only got 20 points when I did this. Because first of all, I had a very short environment when playing this, and I am not really a good bowling player. The last one is Phasma Blast, and only 2 of them are available right now. The first one is pretty much a simple Phasma Blast game where you're shooting for points. And here, let's talk about the background here. So this one's specific because you're actually in the Cursed Dreadbear type area. And the person actually showcasing this is actually not Glamour Freddy. It's a new character who I originally thought was Righty, but then I originally thought it was Sideshow from the Phasma Frights scrapped book. But actually it's a new character named Carney, which we'll later figure out his name, I think, from a prize we get in one of the Phasma Blast games. So in this first one, you're basically shooting points in a space type area, just like the real one. And here's something interesting. There's actually a golden rocket in here, and you have to hit that one specifically. Once you hit it, some weird thing will happen. Not where the the environment you're in actually starts moving. Something starts happening. Or something like, I don't know the entire thing, but I know something happens. In the restaurant, you actually added an added thing where now instead of just only needing to use the phaser blaster to shoot things, you now have to use a ball to throw targets. Like, it's a little bit harder. And you're in a Western background. It's specifically based on the log ride that we discovered from Ruined. You know, Foxy's log ride that actually comes in later on, but we'll get to that. So this one, you're basically throwing target balls and shooting specific things. I think you can shoot Chica multiple times, shoot Foxy, shoot a couple of scorpions and some airplanes that were in the background. And there is a golden rocket here, but I don't know what happens here. I don't know. Something happens when you shoot the golden rocket. It's hard to get though because it will hide behind the train section. And the rest are locked, so we're gonna get to those later. Next up is the ticket booth, and this is where we get a little bit creepy. So first of all is the carousel, definitely one of the scariest ones. Basically in this one, you're in the middle of a carousel. During this, you have to repair it, basically. But the thing is, it's dark, and you only have your flashlight. And guess who is a part of dark places? Moon. So throughout this whole thing, you're going to be stalked by Moon, and you basically have to shine your light at him. Pretty simple. And he also has 3-4 phases. He can either be in the very far back of one part of the carousel. He can then be a little bit closer in the second part of the carousel. Then the third part of the carousel, which is much closer. And then he can literally be right in front of you. Where then you have you have one chance. You'll have only a few seconds, I think, to flash him before he kills you. And you have to repair this thing. The first one, you have to take out a couple of weird light bulbs and replace them with new ones. And the second one, you have these weird turny things. Some will be broken, so you have to replace them. And you have to turn them to a specific line that needs to bleed in order for them to activate. And then you have this last one, you have to tip some weird square type thing. You have to put in the correct order in the color because there'll be specific color patterns in each side. And you have to put in the right one. And you have these little paper clip like things. You have to put them in the correct. You basically see some weird lining of where the paper clips would be, and you have to put them in there. And you have to use some weird guns to stabilize them in. And then after that, you basically have to survive for a minute. It seems easy until here's the thing. Each time you finish a mini task, the carousel will slowly turn on, and Moon is in the little things that you ride on during the carousel, and basically making it harder to find them because he'll be constantly moving around the thing. Especially when all 3 of them are on while you're trying to survive for a minute. And after that, the lights will turn back on and sun will turn back into Moon. No, wait. Moon will turn back into sun. The next one is one of my favorite ones. It's basically the Captain Foxy's log ride. It's like the Captain Foxy's pirate ride from the Curse of Dreadbear, but instead of you in a simple roller coaster ride thing. Well, not roller coaster, but a simple ride where you're shooting projectiles. You're actually now in a log in water. It's basically a actual log ride, and you're in a Wild West type environment. Now, I didn't get this, and Odyssey Extras actually discovered this while playing it, but there's just like the previous Captain Foxy ride. There's actually a helpy that you can hit. Well, in this log ride, there's actually multiple, but in the previous one, there was actually a helpy you can hit, and you can actually get extra points. And in these extra ones, they're actually more corrupted because you're in some weird warehouse type stuff, and there was Jacko, Bonnie, Chato, Jacko, Chica stalking you there. But in this one, you have multiple weird sections that are all glitched and corrupted, kind of like Glitch Trap, and a new character comes in and it's Jacko Moon. Yes, a Jacko Moon actually exists now, and it's official, not fan made. in these sections, you have to do specific stuff. For example, you'll see Moon stalking you in one of the doors in the log ride. And you have to shoot a pointer to close the area Moon is in. They usually get harder and harder where you have to shoot multiple targets in order to close off Jack Moon. But after that, just like the last game, it will actually end off with them basically having friendship and stuff. Because that's for some reason a thing in the pirate rides. And that's pretty much it. And just like the last one, you should really get a high score, or else I think Fat and Foxy will kill you. And the last minigame is locked, so we're gonna talk about that later. Now let's get on to the juicy stuff. The sister location section. Where basically they are the sections that you played during the actual sister location, but in VR. We already had that with Funtime Auditorium in FNAF VR 1, but now we got the rest of them. Starting off with Ballora Gallery, and it is not the same one from the last one. This one is completely different. So let's actually talk about the original Ballora Gallery. In the original one, it's pretty much simple. You basically have to crawl slowly in order to not disturb Ballora. And this one, if you crawl too fast or you don't stop until Ballora is near, she will kill you. This one is basically the same thing, but there will be moments where you actually have to pause and let Ballora crawl your way, because she can sometimes either be far away or basically one in front of you, which was not actually a thing in the original. You do have a chance of having Ballora basically spin around you, but I think that's scripted and not something randomized in the original. This one, it is randomized. And there's an added challenge. You got little mini arenas that will sometimes stalk you either in front of you or behind you, and you have to get out of their way. And that may seem easy, but the hard thing is they slowly come after you, I think. And not only that, there are biddy babs in the other sides that will prevent you from going too far from the left or right. And there's a time limit. So usually my strategy for beating this is just to go as fast as you can. Pause when Ballora when you hear Ballora's music, and just hope the mini arenas don't appear, because I have not learned how to, because I for some reason do not know how to move back to where I was. Next one is my favorite one, the Breaker Room, which is like the Breaker Room in the original sister location, where you get to basically be with Funtime Freddy. So let's talk about the original. In the original, you basically had a panel, and you had I think 10 or 8 sections to fix up. You basically have to hold and wait until that thing gets to 100. And while you're doing that, you have to basically play an audio to calm Funtime Freddy down. Well, specifically, I think this is Bon trying to calm him down. In this one, it's basically the same thing, but instead of repairing areas of the room, you have these weird things that look like clocks, I think, and you have multiple levers. You have to pull each one of them on, but then after that, you're gonna have to actually pull a set of levers on, and it's somewhat randomized. And the first one is pretty easy. You have to pull, I think, the very right lever, and then another one of those, and then activate it. There's a hard mode, I think, completely randomized which ones you have to pull. And in this one, it's basically the same thing, but instead of pressing space, you actually have an actual megaphone that you use to lure Funtime Freddy away. And that's basically that. And then the last one, normal one, is the private room. And yes, it is basically Night 6, or the secret ending of 6th location. So in this one, it's pretty simple. You got 3 doorways that Ender could come, and a camera. You basically have to watch the cameras to see where Ender is. Well, actually, it's more based off of sound, and you have to make sure that he is in an area where he needs to attack. Because if you don't, if you decide to close off an area where he's in, and he's not close to the area when he's about to attack, he will be in the camera where he can attack, but he has multiple phases. If you close it when he's not attacking, it could drain a lot of your power. And this is the same thing here, but it's much easier. Maybe because you can now basically check the cameras, and he actually now has some event that lets you know he's about to attack you. You can either see him walk into your doorways, or you'll see him fastly crawl to your office, and that's pretty much it. But then after that, probably throughout your game, you probably unlocked a Faz wrench, and if you see in the right side of the Pizzaplex, you see that there is an area where you can actually use the Faz wrench. Once you unlock that, you see that there is an arcade machine that is the 4th Princess Quest minigame. And after that, you see that there's some type of inhibitor. You turn that off, and then you see that something is deactivated. So you see some sign that says take off your mask. So presumably you probably tried taking off your mask, just like in Ruined, and you figured out it's basically the Pizzaplex, but now it's in the state that it was in Security Breach. And when you look back to the tablet, you realize that the levels that you originally did are not available anymore, and there's like new levels. This is the hard mode of the pizza of How 1 and 2. So let's take a look back at that. So back in Backstage, we got 2 new minigames. Salon Roxy Repair and Arts and Crafts in the Loft. And Roxy Repair, it's basically the same thing, but now you're trying to repair Roxy. It's basically the same thing where you're painting Roxanne and you're putting hairs for them, but it's a lot harder. Because there'll be some moments where Roxy will just will have like some type of mental breakdown. In order to calm her down, you actually have this Roxy rated you can use to calm her down, which I now realize I should have used when Roxy got mad at me, because I think that it actually works as well when you're trying to look away and her mad meter goes up, and I think you could actually use that to calm her down as well. This probably made that a lot easier. Next one is the Arts and Crafts Loft, where it's basically the same thing, but it's all destroyed and corrupted. Yeah, these are basically corrupted versions, so we're with a ruined Roxanne Wolf. Actually, in the end, she'll actually want to know where his mask is. Her weird mask thingy thing. It's actually the thing. Because if you remember, Roxy actually has a different type of endoskeleton in Ruin. And that's because it's actually a mask that she puts on throughout the entirety of Ruin. And you have to put that on, and that's how the minigame ends. In the Arts and Crafts Loft, it's basically the same thing. But now you have this added thing where you have two new paint things, turquoise and gray or silver, and those are added into the fix. It's basically the same thing where you have to first paint something, then make a paper pow, and then make a paper pow of colors. But this time, in the first minigame, you have to go a lot quicker, and the second and third minigame, you will actually have Moon stalking you throughout the whole thing. And you basically have to shine your light already in, but there is a twist. You do have to recharge your battery in order to use it all the time. After that, I think you're pretty much good. In Food Prep, you have the Fazbear Theater, where in this one, it's basically where you actually have to sell things from basically what would be basically a normal theater. You still have the same drinks. You have this weird mixer thing where you can actually mix in drinks and treats to make I guess milkshakes. You also can serve them popcorn. You also have this section where you have multiple things there. I think there's a hot dog, a pizza, I think some weird some weird pasta type thing, and something else that I'm not entirely sure what it is. And you have these weird things in front of you where you can basically use them to, I think, mix the thing. Add in some things, I think meat sauce, and cheese sauce, and those types of stuff. And you can give them treats. And why that, you actually have Shattered Glamour Chica eating these things. There is a twist though. And these things, there actually isn't multiple, I think, orders in a wave. I think there's now just one, and it's really big. But the twist is that there are actually gonna be Glamrock Endos stalking you in the theater, and the deal with them is it's like before where you can stare at them, but you can also use a fast can if they get too close, and that's that mini game. In the staff only, we got another first aid, but it's a lot harder, and now Scrap Baby is the main antagonist. And here's something that I forgot to mention. There's actually a middle section, a curtain that they can go, that Lefty and Scrap Baby can actually enter in. So just to let you know, and the ad thing is basically something that randomly shows up, and you just have to turn it off, and you should really turn it off because that actually attracts the animatronics. After that, you got the 3 other nights of Fizzy Fast. So let me tell you what night 3 and 4 and 5 add in. In night 3, you have a random chance that a construction worker will ask you to do an order for them, basically. In night 4, this is a little complicated because there's a chance that one of the meals can get contaminated and you're gonna have to trash them. There's also an added salt that you can put in your juice mixer. And Chica can now randomly be here, and if she's near where you are, you have to do the emergency shutdown thing. In night 5, it's basically the same thing but harder, and everyone's now Nightmarian staff bots. And that's that. We actually get an added Endo Warehouse minigame where basically you're trying to teach a Glamrock Endo specific stuff, and you basically tap this weird color matching game you play that actually gets a lot harder and harder. I'm not sure what are the levels. I think first it's just a pre-K level, then next is a 4th grade, then is a junior level, which I think it's actually supposed to mean middle school or something. And then there's a high school level. I think there's then a community college level. And while that, you have Glamrock Endos everywhere else stalking you. And I didn't notice this, but you can actually recheck what the matches are, though you do have a limited amount of them, which probably would have been useful. But there are loads of endos, loads of them. So you're gonna if you're a pro at these Glamrock Endos, I think you might be able to do this very easily. But if you're not, then this is definitely gonna be a challenge. In the Fastcade, we have it's not actually a hard mode of Bonkabon. It's the same Bonkabon minigame, but you get a bonus round. And there's actually some added stuff into it where you can have these random little eyes that can sometimes come in, and they can actually randomly appear, and they're just distractions. And also, I don't know if this is true, but I've seen some footage that have Glitch Trap as one of the things you have to whack. At least that's what I think. And there's actually some secret that will unlock you some weird, funny Bonnie plushie thing. Or either Bonnie or Puppet, I'm not sure. But that's apparently in there. But the main thing what happens is that the thing will randomly shut off, and you have to basically, you see some weird number thing, and you have to match the wires to the specific number in order. And then you just go back to playing the game, and that's it. Next up is a more harder Music Man thing, where you actually get a 5th element thing. It's underneath the weird circle thing. I'm not sure exactly what are the symbols. I think there's a truck, a more curvier lightning bolt. That's all I know. But the cool thing about this one is that we're actually in the ruined version of a Starcade, and we now officially get a ruined DJ Music Man, which looks freaking terrifying as heck. And then here comes the more nostalgic ones. We actually get Phasma Blasts based on FNAF 1, 2, and 3. Basically. And they added this new gimmick of a dart, where you basically have to pop some balloons. And they are very nostalgic. Some have you shoot things and they actually show you specific cameras. Some they'll actually have you close doors on animatronics. Some where basically they'll actually have opened the vents and you'll see I think something. I didn't knew this when I was playing it, but there's actually balloons, so I actually had to dart them, which I didn't know about. And you can actually use the Fazzer Blast to keep the music box wide open in the second one. Which for some reason, the puppet's covering the meters of the points. If you don't know, there's actually some dread bar meter thing that you have to keep it up or else you'll die. And for some reason, in the FNAF 2 one, the puppet's actually covering the higher scores. And also, I forgot to mention this, in the Western and in FNAF, in the other mini games, you actually will encounter plush babies you have to shoot at. But I don't think they're that big of a deal. They actually do get more creepier because some actually start hanging on to balloons. But I'm not sure. And I think in these other two, you have to collect a golden rocket. I'm not sure where. But I think after that, what happens is that for some reason, you burn the whole place to the ground. Which leads to the FNAF 3 one, which I think what happens, we get it. I'm not sure exactly. But you get a ruined Carney that I think dies. And then Springtrap's stalking you. And I think it's just an ultimate challenge of it. I'm not entirely sure. You have to do specific things in order to lock that one. Next up is the ticket booth, where you get a somewhat harder version of the carousel. It's called Cinder Carousel, where you have Jacko Moon stalking you. It's basically the same mini games, but in the first one, you actually have to use a gun to shoot, to activate all the lines in a line thingy, and you have to put on 2 of those weird square things. And also the entire place is on fire. I'm not sure why, but it is. Then Sis Location. Nah. We get a more harder breaker room. It's not that hard, but it's actually, it can be hard because now you get Yendo. Which I'm so glad they gave Yendo a chance to shine again in this game. Which honestly makes sense. He honestly deserves it. But in this one, it's actually harder because Yendo can actually blend in with the environment. Because the environment's actually very dark and silver, which is basically the color of Yendo. So you could probably get food and might think that's nothing there, where in reality it's just Yendo. And no, he's not carrying Bonnet, so you basically have to look closely. And then you got 2 puppet, not puppet, private room mini games. And they're basically based off the custom night of Sis Location. One being called Puppet Master, where you basically have to deal with Ballora, Biddy Bab, Minirina, Electro Bab, and Minirina 2. And they basically act as exactly as they did in the original, where Ballora, you have to listen for her and figure out where she is. There'll actually be an event to let you know when she's actually coming, and close the respective door. Biddy Bab, I'm guessing will have multiple stages. I never checked the event, so I'm not sure if she did have multiple stages. But when she's in her final stage, you'll see her crawling to you, and you have to close the vent. And there will be a thaw when you know they're gone, just like in the original. And the Minirinas and Electrobab both corrupt your power. In the original, one corrupted oxygen, one corrupted power, but there's no oxygen in this, so it's just power. So you have to just basically shock them away. And the Minirina 2 will just basically, instead of covering your screen, it will actually cover your control, so you just have to grab them out of there. And I'm not sure if this, and I apparently just discovered this. I actually saw this. There's actually a code thing in one of the mini games, and I don't know what happens, but if you type 1983, I think another plushie appears. There's basically 6 plushies that apparently we have to collect based off the main characters. But those are the only ones I know. I know you somehow get Freddy and Fazzer Blast, but I don't know that much about it. I should have searched up what these were during this review. But I will still talk about them because they are very interesting. And the last one, which is my favorite one, the Fun Time game, where you basically have to deal with all the Fun Times. When I mean by all of them, I mean all of them. Funtime Freddy, Funtime Foxy, and Funtime Chica is now finally added to this. They all basically team up in a way. You basically know what Funtime Freddy does. He'll basically run around to multiple places, and give you a sign that Bonbon will attack him. So basically where he says, Bonbon, go get him! You have to close the door where Funtime Freddy is. You gotta be in the left or right. But if he says, get ready for a surprise, he'll actually talking the opposite way he's in. So if he's in the right, Bonbon will actually attack. Wait, did I say right? I think I said right. If Bonbon's attacking the right, Bonbon will actually attack on the left. You have to close that door. But there's actually this new mechanic where Freddy would say, Bonbon, let's not keep our friend waiting. And you actually see Bonbon crawl into the vent. And you have to close the vent until he's gone. Freddy Foxy works as he does before, where you have to keep an eye on him. Well, actually, it won't stall him, but you just have to keep an eye to make sure when he's gone. But I'm not sure if this is true, but I think you can actually go for both sides now. At least that's what I think he does. And Freddy Chica has a interesting mechanic. I'm not sure exactly what it is. But you have this Funtime cupcake in your desk, and you have to constantly move him around. And I think it controls where the animatronics move. But Funtime Chica is trying to get the cupcake. So what I did was basically, wherever Funtime Chica is, either in the left or right, I moved Cupcake into the opposite direction. Because that seemed to work. And yeah, that's basically the night. This one, which is probably the scariest one, is the job interview. Where you basically play 3 minigames with Circus Baby and her plush baby minions. The first one is a simple plush flash your light on the plush babies. Basically the same thing, and basically the same as the plush baby minigame. But a lot more easier because you're in a more closer environment. But they will be sneaky. Some will try to appear atop of the ceiling. Some will try to hide underneath your desk. Some will even be far away from the hallway. Next one might ring some bells up here. Is a red light, green light minigame. I'm not sure exactly how it works, but you basically from what I saw, you basically have 3 plush babies. And I think if they have a green light, I have to shine their light at them, because they for some reason stop whenever I shine a light at them or something. I don't know. They actually did pause at some point for no reason, and I don't remember what it was. I think what happens, their eyes were red and didn't see that, and I probably shined a light at them and they moved. Something like that. I'm not totally sure. The third one is where you have to look at the cameras and find a plush baby. You know they're one too because they'll laugh. And once you hear them, you have to basically shock them. And the end, which freaked me out so much, Circus Baby will literally come to your doorway and offer you ice cream. And you have to eat it and you won. I remember saying, dude, that's not freaky at all. Well, if you played Sis Location or watched videos of it, you would know that Circus Baby is one of the most dangerous animatronics out there. Because there is an 8-bit minigame, and if you collect ice cream and go back to the beginning of the minigame, Elizabeth Afton will slowly come in getting the ice cream, but then Circus Baby will bring out her scooper and literally kill Elizabeth. So as you can see, I literally thought I was gonna get scooped, but I didn't. And that is all the mini games. And you actually don't have to beat all of them for some reason. I think you only have to beat a certain amount of them. I don't know why, but you just do. I think 35 you need to complete. And after that, you should be able to get the other two prizes, which were actually Golden Freddy and the Puppet. After that, they actually merge into this Ultra Mega thing. I think that's what it was. And then out of nowhere, everything gets all dark, and you see some weird recharge sensor. You see some hand that somehow shows up with glitch trap. You then see a couple of staff bots, nightmare ones, swarm you. And then you somehow reactivate security breach intro style. And you later learn that you're actually the mask bot. And you see his point of view of giving the mask bot to Cassie. And that's how it ends. Yeah, I know that is anti-commanded, but I like the ending. I accept that what it is. There actually is other endings, but I'm not sure exactly what are. One I know is involving Princess Quest 4, where you're basically playing a mini game. Apparently things got really wacky, where you can actually lead the princess to where you are, where you look behind you and she'll be right there. And then you become the Princess Quest, or you do the stuff the princess does in actual VR. Where you're actually in there and not playing a little arcade machine, something like that. I don't know. And it ends up with you being in a prize thing where Vanny apparently squishes Glitch Trap. I'm not sure what that is. I'm gonna have to watch a theory video about what that is. And I think there's another ending that involves collecting 4 sock plushie thingies, but I don't know what that is. But I will talk about that. How the fact that they decided to make Faz action figures based on the 6 main characters of FNAF along with sock pockets is really cool and really nostalgic. It kind of fits because this is FNAF 10. And also we should talk about the soundtrack, the credits soundtrack that plays. It's called, I think, Scorched Cranberries Special. But people have actually found... So this is actually a remix of the Halloween FNAF World music that plays. Well, it's not Halloween. It's actually more of Update 2. But it is a Halloween type thing. It's basically the same music that plays here, but it's like a remix version of it. And someone said in the comments, apparently, how this kind of signifies that we're basically done with the security breach era, which I kind of agree. This did actually felt like their send-off to specifically the security breach characters. But I thought of it a bit deeper. This is not just security breach, but pretty much the 9 previous FNAF games as a whole. Because there's references in this game. There's references to every FNAF game. Well, maybe not FNAF 4. I think there was a FNAF 4 reference that I didn't see. Oh wait, the 1983 thing. That was one. But yeah, reference to all the 9 previous games. There probably might have been an arcade about that purgatory thing somewhere in one of the security breach mini games. But yeah, it's actually all 9 games. And probably sadly be the last time we might see most of these characters. Funtime Freddy, Glamour Freddy, Pigpatch, Lefty, Yendo. This is like their ultimate send-off. At least to me, it felt like an ultimate send-off. Which is why I think this is definitely the best FNAF game. A perfect send-off of what was in the... As MatPat usually says, a look back of everything we see in the past. And also moving us forward to what is coming next. Which is, I'm guessing, that project that Click Team is making. But yeah, I think that is it, the review. I think I covered everything I want to cover. And I hope you all enjoyed this review. If you like this video, give it a like. Consider more content like this. And I will see you all next time for an interesting video, actually. I'll tell you what it is. It's me giving some compliments to 2022. Because I actually don't think 2022 is that bad anymore. See you next time for that video. Bye, everybody.